So just to talk you through the session, how it's going to run. So we're going to start with, I'm going to give a bit of information about the certificate for about 10 or 15 minutes. Then we're going to have a little conversation about the certificate, and followed by another 15 minutes on how to write a strong application for the bursary. So I'm aware some of you, I think most people here are eligible for the bursary. So welcome along to our SGA members, and I know some people are here to understand a bit more about the certificate, even though you may be from abroad or not in the UK sport physical activity sector. So welcome along. We hope this is as relevant to you as well. So just a couple of introductions. My name is Sam Green-Armitage. I am the Operations Officer here at the Sports Governance Academy, and I'm delighted to be joined by Damien Smith from North Yorkshire Sport.
Hi everyone, Damien Smith, Director of Operations at North Yorkshire Sport. So I was fortunate enough to get a bursary in last year's course and do and complete the course and pass, which is, good. So so I've really enjoyed it. Sam and the guys here have asked me to come and speak to you about it. So I will tell you what I know, bits I enjoyed, the bits I didn't, and everything in between.
Fantastic, great to have you along, and looking forward to speaking to you in just a second. So to kick us off, I'm going to share my screen, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the certificate and the bursary. So if any of you have been along to these before, these slides, if I could just get a thumbs up that you're all seeing it okay. Cool. These slides may be familiar. So here we are. There we go. So what is the certificate in sports governance? So both myself and Damien have sat on the certificate in sports governance, so we feel like we're probably quite, in the good position to answer your questions. But it's a level 4 qualification provided by the Chartered Governance Institute UK and Ireland. So level 4, what that means is it roughly equivalates to first year of undergraduate study in terms of difficulty. It's predominantly a self-study course, which will include at least 15 webinars, and there are 2 assessments. So one will be an assignment in the form of a report, and another will be a multiple choice exam that you will be able to sit from home. So don't worry, we're not going to make you come into an assessment centre or anything like that. It will run from Monday the 19th of October until June 2027. And the results will be released in August next year. The current cohort, their results are being released on Tuesday next week. So if you're on LinkedIn, you may see a few bits flying around on that. And the course is open to all. If you'd like to purchase it yourself, you can do it directly from the Chartered Governance Institute's website. And there are no pre-requirements, so you don't need to have, studied governance previously or have a degree or anything like that. Moving on to the SGA Bursary. 1 second. This is for individuals in the UK sport and physical activity sector. This could be in a paid role, this could be in a voluntary role. If you have a role in any shape or form, then you are eligible for the bursary. The only exception to this is if you work for one of our funders. So we're really grateful to be able to offer these bursary places, and that's through funding from the UK Sports Council. So that's UK Sport, Sport England, Sport Northern Ireland, Sport Scotland and Sport Wales. And if you work for any of these organisations, or also the UK Sports Institute, unfortunately that makes you ineligible for the bursary. But fortunately, there are potentially other funding avenues available. So if you contact us directly, if you work for one of these organisations, we may be able to put you in touch. And if you'd like to apply for the bursary, you can do so through our website. Who might this be for? So given sports nature with governance, there's lots of different roles that have governance responsibilities, some of which is very obvious, like anything that has governance or compliance in the name. So that might be a governance lead or a governance and compliance officer or a head of governance, for example. But many of the roles have governance roles and responsibilities without it being in the name. So I mean, start with some of the obvious ones like a company secretary or a non-executive director or an executive director or trustee. That's more obvious ones. But there are many sports administrators who will have roles for governance. as well as potentially sports development officers if you're in charge of cascading good governance, as well as maybe a general counsel or a committee member. This list isn't exhaustive, but we leave it up to you to decide if your role is relevant for this. I'm not going to read off all the learning outcomes, but these can be found on our website page. Craig, if you wouldn't mind popping that in the chat, that'd be fab. But you can have a read through these to understand a bit more. And if you're applying for the bursary, these may be quite useful in framing your application. So if you're applying for the bursary, most people do it using our online form. This is pretty standard format. It asks you some questions. It obviously asks you some questions about yourself, and these then get evaluated, and then we give it to a certain proportion of the people that have applied. But if filling out forms isn't your thing, we can also offer machine transcribed video call interviews. So what this consists of is that we'll have the questions in front of us, and we will talk you through them along with the mark scheme and do it in a more conversational way. This will then get transcribed, which will then summarize. We will then the summary will then send back to you. So that'll be actually in like an application format for your approval. Obviously, you can just edit this as you like, but then you've got all the details down on there, and then it'll get submitted. Likewise, if you have another method of application that meets any of your needs that would be different to these, please get in contact with us as soon as possible so that we can discuss this, as we are happy to accommodate and we're happy to admit we don't know what we don't know. So yeah, please do. But ultimately, we need to get it in a format that is the same as all the others in terms of an application form, but we're happy to work with you on that. And yeah, if you're planning on using any of these other methods other than the form, please contact us as soon as possible. I mean, the latest you can contact us is before the deadline, but we really ask if you could do it well in advance so that we can get things in line, because we can take these calls after the deadline if you've contacted us before, but ideally we want it all done well before. So a bit of information on the timelines for the course. So for the first module and the introduction, all of CGI's, the Chartered Governance Institute's sector qualifications are put together. So that will include academy governance, health governance. I can't think of the other ones off the top of my head at the moment, but there's 5 or 6 courses that will all be put together. And then you'll be studying specifically core governance knowledge and skills. So this won't be sports specific, this part of the course, but you'll get to meet people from other sectors and maybe learn a bit from them as well. And this will run from October to December, and this will consist of webinars and self-study. So you'll have a study text, and what the webinars will do, they'll work you through the different sections of it and until you finish the whole module. These webinars as well for module 1, because of the large group, they're able to put on 2 a week. So if, for example, you can't do Mondays, but you can do Tuesdays, these will, you'll be able to pick and choose which one you go to. They'll be the same content, just run twice consecutively. Once you get into modules 2, 3, and 4, this is when you break down and you'll really get to know your sports cohort. So starting with module 2, this is hosted by Professor Jeff Walters from the University of Liverpool. In January, you'll be looking at these, and these will be some interactive webinars along with the self-study with the study text. Module 3 is hosted by Amanda Bennett, who is, amongst other things, is on the board for England Handball and Welsh Rugby Union, and also does board evaluations. So she'll be able to talk you through some of the challenges in sports governance. And then module 4 is hosted by Professor Christina Philippou from the University of Portsmouth, who will talk you through risk, compliance and finance in sport. And again, similar sort of format, interactive webinars with some self-study to go with it in preparation for these webinars. Once you reach March, you should be given your written assignment. I don't think that the official date is out for this, so I imagine it will be late March. So this is a 3,500 word report, which can be on a variety of things. So each year it's kind of varied a bit, from something about an organization of your choice to a very specific case study to something around, current goings on in governance. So they really do vary up a bit, but ultimately be a 3,500 word report. This will also have an assignment webinar where the team will be able to talk you through sort of what they're looking for in the assignment. So you'll get the brief along with some guidance around it as well. We really encourage you that this is a great session to go to help you understand what's going on. And then following that, you'll then have the multiple choice exam. So once you've handed in your assignment, maybe chill out for a week, then you want to start your revision for the multiple choice exam. And this will take place, I don't think the date has been set yet, but this will be on a specific date at a specific time, and you'll be able to do this from home. Yeah, you'll need to make sure that's booked in your diary well in advance so you're ready to go with it. And then you'll get your results in August, probably similar time next year, so around middle of August. The suggested study time for this course is 200 hours. So what we've done is we've sort of broken down when you might want to be spending that time. You may want to spend this differently depending on if life gets in the way or your commitments at the time, but this is a suggestion to get you started. So all of the modules are weighted equally in terms of the exam and the assignment. So for example, multiple choice exam, it's 10 questions on each modules for 40 questions in 60 minutes as a multiple choice exam. So whilst there's more webinars for module 1, we still suggest you only spend the same amount as the other modules. And if we come across here, what I've defined as office hours study commitments is stuff that will happen during the 9 to 5 day. So for example, all the webinars take place during the working day. Ideally, you want to go along to them because then you get a chance to connect with other people, ask questions in person, do the breakout sessions. But I know many people who've done very well on certificate, barely went along to any in person because of work commitments, and then were studying in their own time because the recordings are available pretty soon after the webinar as well. So yeah, we've broken down what the office hour studies is and what the out of office hours are as well. So we really encourage you to speak to your employer or your team or whoever is the relevant person to try and see if there's a way that you can attend these, but if not, you can do it on catch up. So this will take you through to March, through all the modules. There's less webinars for the sports modules, so there's less of an office hour commitment. And then once you get to the assignment, so we recommend it'll take about 30 hours to do the assignment. It might take you a bit longer, it might take a bit shorter. I know some people, if they're always writing reports, then it took them a bit less time. Some people, it took a bit longer. So what we recommend is, if your employer does allow you to, is you take 1 to 2 days of study leave. If you can't, then you may need to do this in your own time. It doesn't make it unmanageable because you've got about 6 weeks to do the assignment. But ideally, that would be very handy. I know I used at least a day of study leave, and it was really helpful just to be able to sit down for, I think it was a couple of afternoons, and really work on the certificate. And then there's also a 1-hour webinar, again, like I mentioned, about the assignment that will take place during the day. And then out of office, you may want to do your revision, some reading, and spend extra time on the assignment because it is a serious piece of work. Like it's really enjoyable, really rewarding, but it's not just something you can smash out in a few hours. Finally, for the multiple choice exam as well, we recommend you take about 3 hours of study leave. One of the exam will be during the usual working day, so make sure that's booked out. And if you can't get any time off work for any of these, please just try and make sure you've got that. It's an hour exam, but you'll need probably an hour and a half to take it because the setup for it, you have to do lots of videos of yourself at your working space to ensure that you're not being distracted and you've not got all the answers in front of you or anything like that, for the integrity of the exam. There's also an exam preparation session, so you'll get to familiarize yourself with the exam platform before it takes place, so that you know what you've got to do to make sure you're prepared for the exam. So all the videos, or making sure your room's clear and all that good stuff. So yeah, also recommend you do lots of revision for the exam so you get as good a mark as possible. So last year we created these resources to help you with your studying. So first of all, the practical applicant guide. Craig, if you wouldn't mind sharing that in the chat, that'd be fab. This covers all of the content we've covered today, but also looks at our resits, deferrals, postponements, absence and withdrawals policies. We do have, whilst we hope everyone takes it within the year, and we really encourage you to, life does sometimes get in the way, and especially with, a decent sized cohort of you, in all likelihood, something, may happen that means some of you are unable to take it in 2027. There are backups for it. We're able to help support you, but what we really, really ask is you get in contact with us as soon as possible, even if it's just to explore what the options are and just to make sure you're picking the right one. We really want you to get in touch with us, months in advance if possible, and not 2 weeks before your assignment's due saying, things have got a bit hectic. What do I do? So even if you think that's going to happen, please get in touch with us as soon as possible, because there are avenues in which we can support you. We've also made a manager's guide, so you've got a short, sharp web page you can send to them to help them try and, work your work around it and help you work the certificate around your work as well if you require it. Finally, application timelines. So applications opened on Tuesday. I believe we haven't got any in yet, and I'm hoping that's because you're all waiting to hear what we have to say today before putting them in. They will close at 9 p.m. on Friday, the 11th of September. So again, if you want to do a video call for it, you need to tell us by then. We will then review all the applications, and we will make sure we tell successful applicants by the 1st of October. We will hopefully tell successful applicants before this, and our first method of contact for successful applicants will be over the phone. So for my sake, when I start calling people up, please put a phone number that's not just your organization's phone call, so I don't have to go through lots of people. If we will only use the number for this purpose. Likewise, we will tell unsuccessful applicants by the 1st of October. And if for whatever reason this does get delayed, we will communicate this well in advance. So we won't, you won't get an email on the 1st of October being like, sorry, it's been delayed. You will hear before then if anything does happen. But fingers crossed, and it hasn't been a problem in previous years or for quite a while. So you should be hearing from us by then. And then the deadline to accept your place is the 8th of October. Obviously, if we send you, that you've been successful and we hear you're out of office for a week or so, we will delay. We can delay that, but ideally we want everyone registered by the 8th because the course begins on Monday, the 19th. That's everything from me about the course. I will be doing some tips and tricks on the application process at the end. But yeah, I wanted to welcome Damien back. So we've got a bit of a conversation. I'm just going to check the chat, see if there's any pertinent questions coming up. Is it an open book exam? No, it's a closed book exam. It's 1 hour as well, do 40 MCQs. So I think even if you did have an open book, it wouldn't be that helpful. But yeah, it's definitely a closed book exam. Let me just check the Q&A, see if there's anything in there. 3 comments. How many bursaries are available? This year, we've got a minimum of 35 available. We may be able to have a few extra, but there's a minimum of 35. Are there any sorry, I've just lost my screen. Are there any alternative dates? If you can't make the specific one in June, you may have to defer until later in the year, unfortunately. But yeah, I can ask the CGI examinations team if that is a problem. That's something to flag early with the exams team. And yeah, you can go from there. But ideally, yeah, have the date in your diary a long way in advance. But yeah, welcoming you back in, Damien. It'd be great if you could sort of just to start with a nice easy one. Just tell us a bit about how you found the time commitment to do the certificate and some of the practicalities of attending the seminars. And yeah, we'll start there, I guess.
Yeah, fine, no worries. I mean, the first thing to say is, you've already said it, so I'll reiterate. It's a serious qualification. So in terms of going into it with your eyes wide open, you need to be able to commit to it. Like, there's loads of flexibility in there. There were plenty of webinars that I just couldn't attend because day job just in the way. But because they were recorded, I was disciplined. I think I might have missed a couple, if I'm being all honestly with everyone, but most of them I managed to kind of re-catch up. So that flexibility is there. But what I did really notice is when I missed it and then tried to watch the recording, I didn't get as much from it because, or I found it harder in terms of some of the content. Because actually, a lot of the beauty of the sessions are you're delivered some content by the tutors. I'll come on to them in a bit, but actually the conversation in the room and the conversation with other people that are on the course is the most important bit. And I know that seems, it might seem a little obvious, but it really is. You're in a room with people in all sorts of different roles from all sorts of different sports, all sorts of different organizations, and it's incredibly useful to kind of do that. So because the dates were given to me when I was successful in terms of getting a bursary and a place, the dates for certainly module 1 and possibly 2 were given to me straight away, and it was months in advance. So my diary, if it's like anybody else's, is pretty nuts in the next couple of weeks, but then there is kind of space in there. So I made a point of making sure that they were all in. I did have a conversation with my employer, who were really keen that I did this, and our, North Yorkshire Sport as an organisation are really supportive of it. So from that point of view, the time during the day to be able to do it was not an issue. I was kind of, when I say allowed, enabled, whichever, I kind of just got on with it. But of course, there are times when important stuff just kind of gets in the way. So that flexibility to be able to watch the recordings is there. The time commitment wise, and that kind of suggested 200 hours. Again, I'll be honest, I don't know that I did 200. But when I've totted it up, and when he asked me to kind of speak, I was sort of looking and trying my best to talk. It definitely 150 plus, without a shadow of a doubt. There was, there is some hours in there. Whether I actually got to 200, I don't know. But it is the more you put in, the more you get out of it. Again, quite an obvious statement. It is a serious qualification. I wouldn't want anyone to think they could just kind of jump on and when I say blag it, I mean in the nicest possible way. It's hard work. Having said that, I don't want to put anyone off either, because actually it's not as frightening as maybe it sounds. The time commitment spread over that many months, actually it isn't that bad. Because of what I'm like, I've got to say my assignment was probably back-ended a bit too much. I probably should have started a bit sooner in that 6 weeks. Again, if I'm being really honest, I probably did it in 3 weeks. It felt quite intense at that point. I wish I'd have taken the 6. But that's part of why I'm here today, so help people kind of factor that sort of stuff in. So yeah, it was again, from a time commitment point of view, the majority of the webinars were done during my working time. As I say, a few were done on an evening that I caught up on. The exam was done during my working time again. The large majority of my assignment work was actually done in my own time, but that's entirely my own doing. That wasn't because I wasn't allowed to do it. I just found it easier to dedicate a couple of a number of evenings and a couple of weekends to be able to just really get into it for a few hours without being broken off with meetings and calls and other stuff. So it was just my kind of preference really to do that on an evening. So yeah, it's a pretty serious time commitment, but it's the equivalent of a year 1 degree, which I think you've said. So it is a really serious qualification, and actually, just putting all that to one side, it's a really enjoyable qualification too. And so for me, I've been our governance lead for a number of years, and when I say dabbling, working at it, trying my best to, I took North Yorkshire Sport through our first and second round of Code of Governance with UK Sport and Sport England, and I was kind of doing a lot of that work. And what was really nice is that this then gives me a legitimate qualification that sits alongside that, because other than that, I've got the experience of doing it and I've got the work, but I didn't really have anything a bit more formal. Whereas now I'm able to say that I have a level 4 qualification in it. So so from a time point of view, unless there's anything else on there, you get out of it what you put in, but it's not as frightening as you might think.
No, fab. Cheers, Damien. And a couple of things I just wanted to add was, if, for example, if you've just heard of the Sports Governance Academy, your organisation doesn't know who we are, and you suddenly go, "I want to do this year-long course," and the manager's guide isn't enough for them, we're happy to get in touch and provide more details. So yeah, happy to talk on that. And yeah, with the assignment, I can say myself, I definitely left it a bit too late. And don't do it. It's not fun. I ended up having a cricket match rained off on a Saturday and then spent the whole day sat at the kitchen table trying to smash it out. Yeah, that made the miserable day. Whilst I enjoyed the process of doing it, trying to have to, do a whole day on my Saturday wasn't the ideal way of doing it. I should have done it in chunks on evenings over the whole 6 weeks. So yeah, do as we say, not as we do, I guess. Just a final one on that, Damien. So the multiple choice exam is 40 questions in 60 minutes. How did you find that as well?
Yeah. Do you know what? It was. I don't think any exams are enjoyable. It's not my bag, really. I don't like them. Never have. But it wasn't bad. Like it's the multiple choice element definitely helps. Having said that, the choices in it are not, it's not an exam where there's three really obvious wrong choices and one clear, the answers that are given in the multiple choice, there were a few that I sat there and thought, oh, this could be all four. Like this legit, or at least this could be three of the four. Maybe one was a little rogue. So the questions and the way that they are put together, even though they are multiple choice, doesn't mean that they are like easy answers necessarily. I think my challenge was the amount of content that you cover across all four modules was kind of the revision element of it, and trying to make sure that I did give it equal kind of time. What really helped was the study text. So the study text that you're given that are downloadable on the portal they're weighty. I wouldn't print any of them out for a start, but they are really significant kind of documents, but they're really good. Like, and the when you delve into those, the case studies that are used in the study text are really, I think, are really interesting and really sport specific. There's some really great stuff in there around the need for football governance and a whole range of the kind of case studies that are in there. And I found the case studies the kind of most interesting bit of the study text because it brings the content to life. So yeah, one of the hardest bits with the exam, not hardest, but one of it was just the setup of it because you were doing it in a kind of private space. Your camera has to be on. You use your phone. There's an app that they use. The phone then links to your mobile phone. You've kind of got to do a bit of a video around to show that you've not got loads of stuff printed. And then you've kind of got to put it next to you so that it's pointing at you so that you're not cheating. All fine, but that was one of the hardest bits. But I get the reason for it. Again, it's a serious qualification and they want to make sure that when you're doing the exam, you're not surrounded by all of the answers to the potential questions. So yeah, I thought the exam was proportionate. It's 40% of the overall qualification. Again, you do need to revise for it. I think reading through the study texts and a couple of times was enough. There's also some interpretation in there as well. And best endeavours, best guess on one or two of the questions probably got me over the line. I think that if it's still the same, Sam, is it a 50% pass mark as well?
So there's a question in the chat about this actually. So it's a 60% pass mark for the multiple choice exam, and it's a 50% overall. So you've got to pass both. So if you got it 50% on the assignment and 60% on multiple choice, on the multiple choice as well, there's no negative marking. Just it's an actual 60%, not like some negative marking one where it gets a bit weird. So if it's 40, that means you need to get 24 to pass it. But no, that's fab. Thank you, Damien. Yeah. So yeah, so I should have mentioned that at the start. And then your marking weighting, yeah, is 60% to the assignment and 40% on the multiple choice. So going back 2 years, probably about this time 2 years ago, Damien was on this same call. It was just me nattering on. We didn't have a previous student to share experiences. So putting yourself back in your shoes 2 years ago, Damien, how did you hope it would benefit you before taking the course, and how's that sort of panned out since?
Yeah. I mean, what if I can just take 30 seconds or so on the actual bursary, if that's all right, Sam, because it again, what wasn't lost on me is you're applying for a bursary. There are a set number. Again, it's a serious application. What I concentrated on, or trying to concentrate on, was what I would get out of it. So yes, there is an element of my organisation, North Yorkshire Sport, would benefit, but actually, I focused on me as an individual, and I may not always work here. I hope I don't. Don't tell my boss. But when I move on in the industry, I'll hopefully that benefits another organisation. So for me, the application itself was very focused on me as an individual, what I want to get from it, and how I think my gaps in governance knowledge could be filled, and actually what I wanted to do with it in the future. The application is proportionate. You're not being asked to write a bazillion words. I really appreciate the subsidy. That's the other thing to say. It's real money. It's a course. It's a serious qualification. It's someone else's money. But I appreciate that being invested in me. For me, I wanted to be really clear about what I wanted to learn, and my, as I said, my gaps in kind of governance knowledge and some more of the technical stuff. And then I wanted to be able to come back and apply that in my workplace and with our board. And have I done that? Yeah, I think I have. I could always do better, but one of the big things for me was what I learned around risk and appetite for risk in a board, and risk assessment side of it. And I know that sounds incredibly boring, but I do mean an organisation's appetite to do new things and the risks associated with that, and then being able to bring that back and actually be quite challenging with my board, who I think lots of boards are like this, but it could be quite risk adverse. And not all risk is bad. There are some things we could do that are genuinely interesting and new. And yes, they come with a risk. And yes, they might not always work. But it was the application of that to our board that I find really interesting. I have to say, I'm really fortunate to have a really good board that value the individuals and the staff as the greatest asset of North Yorkshire Sport. So I'm incredibly fortunate, but there's still work to do. There are still things where we need to make sure the decisions that we make are done so with the public's best interest, that the way we invest in new things, time, money, energy and resources, we're doing so to tackle inequalities in North Yorkshire and York. There are some things that I've been able to directly pick up out of qualification. And when I say flex my muscles, I guess I mean practice back at North Yorkshire Sport. So for me, the actual application, the bursary, and when I sat and what did I want to get out of it, I think by and large I've done that. I would just say keep your application focused on you as an individual, what you want to get out of it. And for me, a useful bit was just acknowledging where my gaps in kind of governance knowledge were, because the course will absolutely fill them.
Thank you, Damien. Yeah, we are going to go over the application later, but this ultimately is a investment in you as an individual. It's not in your organisation. It's part of the application. One of the questions does look at your organisation. However, the majority of it, it is almost entirely about you. Just looking at that, were there any sort of unexpected benefits you found you got from the certificate? Something that you hadn't actually thought of, that you came out with the other side and went, oh yeah, that was actually really useful?
Yeah. I think the assignment was a really interesting one, in that I realised I've not done a piece of work academically since uni. In all honesty, we work with universities to do lots of work, but it was the first time I had to really think, oh, how do you reference, like proper referencing? So it kind of got me back into a bit of nostalgia in my uni days, which were a number of years ago. But I kind of really enjoyed that aspect of it. I enjoyed the assignment, and I didn't expect to enjoy it. I expected for it to be a pain that I had to just get through, with a busy working life and family and all the rest of it. But I actually enjoyed the practice of going through, and the content and the what it was asking me was really thought provoking. And when you're in it, you're a bit like, oh, right, get this done. But actually, when I reflect back, I think for me, I thought it was a good piece of work to do. It got me really thinking about stuff. So that was unexpected. And also because the first module is not just for the sports sector, you sort of, I was in working groups and a whole range of stuff with solicitors, and I was in with a fairly wide range of people, some real governance experts actually in there as well. So I made some contacts there, and I found that really interesting. And also when it come to this the kind of modules 2 and onwards, again, there are some people on there that I wouldn't ordinarily have come across in my working life, that type of thing. And but I made a couple of connections there, and I met some like-minded people, and we just had a few conversations offline about things like the assignment. Are we both on the same page? Do you read it the same way I do? What do you think they're looking for? And I've got to say, I sat on a couple of those, and other people's view of the assignment was not what I thought they were after at all, and it made me second guess it. But just that question of that conversation with them kind of really helped. So that was what I expected to. I won't say about any friends necessarily, but there are some contacts I should say, on the course that I'm still in touch with. That was just a nice sort of addition, really.
No, fair. Thank you very much. I had another question lined up about how it fits with your wider career trajectory, but I feel like you've answered it in terms of it supporting you do whatever you're going to do next and develop the skills that you're going to need for the rest of your career. So just
I have got a bit of an addition on that one though, Sam.
think...
That since taking that course, this last 6 months have been doing a secondment as a chief exec for a kind of an arts charity in our patch that were struggling with governance, struggling with a whole range of other stuff. But they were struggling. They work with us. They're not in our sector at all, but they needed some support. They came to us and kind of came to our chief exec and our board and said, "Have you got someone that we could borrow for a bit?" And I was sort of put forward, and I used a lot of it there too. And actually, from a career point of view, what it's probably also helped is maybe open my eyes to the governance stuff I've done. And while it's a sports governance qualification, actually governance is governance. So when I'm sat with the Arts Council, and I was sat with an arts charity that was really struggling with its governance, or what to who they were, I was able to put a lot of the learning and really help them get to grips with what good governance should look like. So I've been able to kind of pick that up and use it in an entirely different sector. So from a career trajectory point of view, I guess my only sort of bit that I've not really thought of until just now was it's probably opened my eyes a little bit to working outside of our sector. And while I love working in sport and have done for 27-ish years, it's not as frightening as it might be to go work somewhere else in a different sector. Good governance is good governance, and I think this course probably helps.
And my last question for you, but also I want to hear your input when I mention about the application process in a moment, is sort of how's it benefited your organisation more widely? I'm thinking more from the term, as much of the terms just generally, but equally if someone's manager or team is unsure whether they want to give them the study leave or this to support their organisation, like how can they justify this internally in terms of the organisational benefits?
Yeah, I think I've already mentioned it, but one of the things that it's given me a bit more confidence with is being a bit more challenging with our board, and not because there's anything dramatically wrong, but there are just times that maybe where we can be a little bit safe on some things. As I say, they're an incredibly good board, and I'm really fortunate to kind of work with the guys that I do. But it's allowed me the confidence to be able to challenge them in a positive way about the way that we are going about things. And actually, the governance stuff, and this is going to sound a little cheesy, but I say it anyway, is not about the compliance element of it. It's about good governance culture. And I think that, yes, you can be, there's a compliance element to it. We're a tier 3 Sport England Code of Governance kind of recipient. We have to because of our funding, we have to do certain things. But we could just stop there. We could just do the tick box exercise. We could just produce a load of stuff and we could just be compliant, and that might be okay. But actually, the more important thing and the more rewarding part of it is where I genuinely feel I'm contributing and shaping a good culture, a good governance culture at North Yorkshire Sport, where people feel happy to challenge stuff, people feel happy to raise issues, people feel happy to contribute, people feel happy to say when we should be doing something or when we shouldn't, without any fear of kind of recrimination. So for me, the one, again, thinking back, the kind of most useful bit has been, and culture shaped by everyone. It's not that I'm sat doing that, but I'm definitely helping steer some of that and contributing to what I think is a good, positive governance culture, which leads to a well-run organization doing some good things with people who want to work there. So yeah, that's probably the my kind of added bit.
Thank you very much. Will, if you've got a question that you want to ask out loud, please put your hand up. I can't promise we'll be able to answer all of them now because I need to leave time to answer the bit afterwards. But again, we can hang around after my short presentation in a second to answer any if they either come up in a moment. So if you've got any questions, please stick your hand up. Whilst people stick their hand up, I'm going to answer some of the ones in the chat because I think a lot of them would apply from our perspective. So when an exam dates and deadlines like to be communicated very soon, I will check in with the CGI exams team and hopefully get that up on the website as soon as we know. So yeah, if there's issues with June, it won't have any impact on your application if you're unable to make the assessment. The application is based on your need, not on whether you can make June 2027. Yeah, someone asked about how much to self-fund it. It's £1,500 on the CGI website, but if you're an eligible applicant for the bursary, we may be able to offer some discounted rates if you're unsuccessful. So in terms of the volunteer board member with a small charity, yeah, there's no ask of the organisation in terms of support. So yeah, I mean, I guess if you're doing it as a volunteer, then it's off your own back. Yeah, we don't ask for any, just to clarify, I'm not sure if what you're asking, but we don't ask for funding from your employer either to do it, for example. So there's been a couple of questions about the assignment, which there's one around, will it have any focus on our employer or sponsoring entities? Would you need to be part of an organisation to pursue the course as well? Sorry, let me just answer that one quickly. If you're part of an organisation, I guess you don't need to be employed by one, but if you need to have a role in the UK sport and physical activity sector to apply for the bursary. But to join the course more generally, if you want to self-fund, you can just do it anyway. But looking, there's a couple of questions around the assignment, so I want to clarify this a little bit. So there will be a brief for the assignment set by the examiner. This does sometimes give some leeway to have a bit of choice around it, and sometimes it's quite narrow. So I don't want to tell you the question, but the one me and Damien got was very narrow. It was, here is what you've got, and you've got to write a report on it. Whereas others have been maybe pick an organisation. This might be an organisation from a list. This might be an organisation that meets certain criteria, and write a report about something around these. So I can't answer the question because the exam question hasn't been written yet for next year, and I couldn't share it with you anyway, even if it was. So yeah, there will be a brief and it will tell you what it is. Just going back to the Q&A, I know there was one on there that I can answer. That was around, pass mark we've done. More than one person apply for an organisation. Yeah, more than one, as many as you want can apply. We usually will limit it to 2, maybe 3 on special cases if we see there's adding value. But what we don't want from our perspective is to, have it, obviously, if we give up 35 places and 10 of them are from one organisation, that would be, on our part, be a bit ridiculous. But we're trying to spread the knowledge out and maximise the impact of the funding. Just going back to the chat, and then I will come to the people who've got their hands up. How are you defining being in the sports and physical activity sector? We're pretty loose with it, I would say. Like, you don't have to be employed. If you've got a volunteer role, that's more than good enough. Even if I guess if you play, that might be acceptable, but you need to be somewhat involved. And what I'm trying to say is, let's say for the bursary, let's say you've just got a job in something corporate and don't, volunteer in the sport and physical activity sector on the side, you're probably not eligible for the bursary unless there's something I can't think of. But if you're unsure, please take this up with us offline, and we're happy to answer any questions about eligibility, because I don't want you to waste your time applying if you're then going to find out you're ineligible. So yeah, happy to drop us an email at info@sportsgovernancecademy.org.uk. Craig can pop it in the chat. Someone's asked about from Kenya. Yeah, you can join you can't get the bursary if you're in Kenya. So we can't fund your place. However, you can still pay for the certificate through the Chartered Governance Institute, and if you like, we can put you in touch. And are there any sports exempt from applying? No, any sport's fine. Yeah, so that's all good. The only exemption if you're in the UK sport and physical activity sector is if you work for one of our funders. And if you do, please contact us, and then we can sort of work out what happens next. I think that's all the questions in the chat. I can see someone with their hand up.
If you're unsuccessful in getting the bursary, what's the latest you can purchase the course?
On the CGI website, it says the 8th, but if you're one of the applicants, if it's the 19th, if you've got issues internally and you need to join a week late, like, we can make that work out. I mean, obviously, ideally, you want to be registered by the 19th, ready for the first webinar. But if there's, if you've got to raise POs and go through all that, and I don't know, the finance team.
That flexibility is there, that in case we aren't successful on the first, we can write to you and work out how to purchase it, right? Okay, and just quickly, I just have two more questions. Damien mentioned that in our application, it's more about saying what we get out of it, which I appreciate. But it's okay if we mention the organization's benefit as well, right? All he was saying is focus more on what we can get out of it. Is that correct? Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, I'm going to go over that in a moment, actually. So I'll delve into that a little bit more. So yeah, hang on if you can. There we go. Everyone seeing that? Okay, I can't see any of you until now, and there you are. Can I just get a thumbs up, Damien, if you can see it, if that's all right? Cool. So I just want to start beforehand with what's available in terms of application support. So we've got an application support section on the website. You'll be able to find it through the certificate, and please read that webpage before applying. There's so much information on it, and it will explain everything. We don't hide anything. We give you the application criteria. We literally effectively give you the mark scheme. So yeah, we really encourage you to read everything that's available. But one thing, and I'm going to read this verbatim, is across the whole application, successful applicants provide great levels of detail and demonstrate the relevance of the course requested. So if you're going to take one takeaway for your application, it's that sentence right there, because the best ones do that. But yeah, further support's available on the website. When you go to apply, you'll realize the first question is about our AI policy. We have AI guidance and an AI policy for applying. So I'm going to start with just the policy. This came in reaction to a few years ago where we started receiving a lot of AI generated applications. We do not ban AI. So if you're worried about that, that's not what we do. But what we do, what isn't okay, is just using it and just, for example, put the question in, get it to answer it, copy, paste, done. Like, that's not allowed. Please read the full policy for all the details. We encourage you to use it, for example, to bounce ideas off, to learn a bit more about what the course might help you do, maybe give you some thoughts that you hadn't actually thought of. But again, please double check these. And the other part that's really important is you tell us what you used and how you used it, and that you use it safely. So please read the guidance and the policy if you plan on using AI to apply, because I don't want you divulging But we don't want you divulging, confidential information about either yourself that you don't want to share or your organization with a chatbot that's not got the requisite protections on. And we want to understand transparently how you've used it. But yeah, AI can't write your application for you on your own. They're really easy to spot when someone's just popped it in. It will have loads of buzzwords. And I don't want to tell you too much of how it looks because then it makes it more difficult on our end to spot them. But yeah, it won't get you a good enough application to get the bursary, put it that way. So what's changed since last year? So if any of you applied last year, we've made minor word changes to questions 2, 4, and 5. Some of these, it's just moving words around, so it's not changed the meaning drastically. I believe question 4, we have changed a little bit. So if you're going to base this off a previous application, please just check the questions if that is you. We've upped the minimum number of certificate places available from 30 to 35, and we're offering a bit more application help. So whilst everything before was written on the website, we thought it probably makes sense to accompany that with some narrated stuff from myself. So getting onto that. So these are our top tips. So this is based on the application. It's called application support. I think it's called application top tips or something like that on the website. So I've sort of broken these down and I'll just narrate a bit around them. So the first one is just please read the question. Like, I'm going to be quite candid in this bit because I think that's probably going to be a bit more helpful. Please read the question. You'll be surprised at how many people just misread the question or misinterpret it, and then start writing away, and then all of a sudden it's not related to what the question says. So like, yeah, read the question, answer it, check it matches the question. Massive part of it, and this was part of when we redid the application criteria a couple of years ago, is giving relevant personal or organizational examples. And this ties in with with point 3, which is tailoring your responses and don't just quote the marketing copy back at us. If you don't give relevant personal or organizational examples, you'll just find you're giving us the marketing copy back at us, and which we wrote, so we know what it looks like. So please use the marketing copy to, tailor your response. It's going to help me do X because it says that. How is it going to do it? Tell us about you and your organization, where it's relevant. So yeah, that's where you're going to get the marks. It's not going to be going, this is going to help me get better at governance. It's going to be all of the bits after that. We recommend you use the application criteria. If you're looking at it on one screen, we really recommend you have them both up on one. If you've got 2 screens, obviously you can split it between the 2. If you want to print it off, please do, but this will really, really help you in your application. And finally, use the word allocation. So there is a word limit on each question. We're not saying you have to go up to it, but if you're the kind of person that's likely to go under it, I don't know, Craig's on the call. I don't know about you, Craig. I haven't seen any applications that have managed to be successful by writing a sentence, for example, for each question. Some might answer something in maybe a couple or 3 if they're really, really succinct. But, the word count's a guide. If you're someone that writes under, maybe try and write up to, half, 2/3 of it, and then you'll probably be in the right ballpark. Likewise, if you're someone that's going to write me an entire essay and then realize the word count is 300 words, tailor it to what it says. So things to keep in mind when applying. So these are some new things that I've sort of added this year. This isn't on the website yet, but it'll be in the recording. So when you're writing your benefits and you're looking at how it's going to benefit you, your organization, your future career, whatever it might be, it's better to focus on a couple of them and provide lots of examples and your thoughts around them rather than just writing a list. Because when you write a list, we get no details and we're like, what are we meant to do with this information effectively? So focus on the first couple. And if you've got a couple more and you've got a few words left, by all means do it. But it's better to expand on a few and write them in great detail rather than writing a long old list of it's going to benefit this, it's going to benefit that, it's going to benefit this, and offer minimal context. Last year, roughly 2/3 of eligible applicants were successful. So why this is relevant is if you're the sort of person that wants to put forward the absolute perfect application and maybe don't have the time to do so, you still consider applying. You never know. I know there was someone last year who rung up with about a week to go going, oh, I don't know if I'm going to have time to really put the time towards it that I want to. spoke to them, encouraged them to, you know, even if it was only half an hour or so, you know, put the best foot forward you had in the time, and this person was ultimately successful. So yeah, if you're a perfectionist, you know, those are your odds. If you're someone that's maybe a pessimist, your odds are quite good based on that. The number of places we can offer is capped. It's not a percentage of the applicants. But yeah, those are the stats from last year. Third one, you're applying for a certificate that costs £1,500. And why have I put this? Because we want your application to match this. Not like you're applying for something that's worth £15. You're not applying for something that's going to be £150,000. You know, I don't need masses of documentation to go with it to support it. Likewise, it's more than a couple of sentences asking for the certificate. And finally, this is going to lead us on to the next bit. I'm aware I'm running out of time, so I want to get through this quite quickly. Is you're trying to put in your best application, not the best application. There will be some people whose just circumstance, like any kinds of need-based assessment, who may need it more than you do, and that's fine. You're not trying to say I need this more than every single other person that's applying. Like we said, there's a minimum of 35 places available. It doesn't matter whether your application ranks first or 35th. So I'm just going to lead into this a bit more here, which may make a bit more sense. So I've got all the questions laid out here. So 4 of the questions are out of 10, 1 is out of 5. And what we encourage you to do is pick which questions you think this really matches me. You know, if you've got really high governance responsibilities, let's say, I don't know, you're a chair and you're also a governance lead somewhere, then obviously this is going to be really, really high and you're going to find this question really easy. Likewise, if governance is just a part of your job, you're probably not going to be getting 10 out of 10 on this first question, but maybe see, I can take my, 6, 7, 5, whatever it may be, and move on to the next one. So what we sometimes find people do is overclaim benefits, and it's quite easy to spot because the examples aren't there to back it up. And if you look at the mark scheme, to really get those higher bands on each question, it's all about those supporting examples demonstrating the relevance. So yeah, going through these, the organizational benefit, how's it going to benefit you now and going forwards in your, you as an individual. So as we talked about the individual earlier, questions 1, 3, 4, and 5 are all about you. Effectively, question 2 is about your organization. So yeah, we really encourage you to take a look at this and look where you can score points, not try and just score 10 out of 10 on all of them, because bizarrely, these are designed to, measure your ability, your need for the course. And some of them maybe go against one another a little bit. So I don't think it's actually possible for someone to get 45 out of 45. Yeah, try and do the best you can and look at where you think you can score big to get the most out of your application. So that's everything from me. I'll stop sharing my screen. I'm aware we've slightly overrun. I can see there's a hand up. I'm just going to check the questions that are in the chat. So how do you help someone who's neurodiverse, who's successful with the bursary? The Chartered Governance Institute has a reasonable adjustments system effectively. And yeah, they can contact them through there. Without further details, it's hard to say what those adjustments would be. But yeah, happy to take that conversation offline if that is something you're concerned about. And I can put you in touch with the examinations team and the learning team as well. I'll just check the Q&A.
What should I enter into the job and organisation field if I have other roles outside of my day job?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. If you could put the organisations you volunteer with that are in the sports sector, that would be, and the roles that are relevant to that would be really helpful. I can edit the application form to clarify this with like a sub note if that helps. But no, that's a really good question. Thank you.
The application form has now been amended with this clarification.
Damien, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add quickly to anything I've just said there about the application before we call it a day.
No, just don't overthink it either. Like, you know, you're not trying to, as Sam said, you're not trying to beat anyone else. You're just trying to say the qualification will benefit me, and kind of here's why. So, yeah, be proportionate, but equally, you do need more than a sentence in each in each book. But yeah, and just thanks for the opportunity. As I say, I really enjoyed the course. I'm still getting a lot from it. And it is that genuine investment in me. So yeah, just thanks very much for opportunity for today.
No, thank you for coming along. No, I think that's hopefully really helped all the people that have come along today to hear a bit more about it. Yeah, we also have other recordings from last year, which we did with Lizzie Butcher, who's now at British Skydiving, and Tara Granea from Chukball UK and the International Paralympic Committee. So if you want to watch those and hear a few other perspectives, please go and take a look at those. You can find them through the website or through our YouTube channel. Finally, just a quick one from myself, SGA related. First of all, thank you everyone for coming along. I know maybe how to apply for a certificate maybe will not be the most interesting part of your day, and I really appreciate you sticking with it. I hope you found it informative and useful, and I hope to see a load of applications come in very soon. We've also, just if you're not aware, we've got the conference coming up later this year, 24th of November at Headingley Stadium in Leeds. This is a free to attend event, both online and in person. So please do take a look at that. And one thing we really ask is we have got our impact assessment going. Craig's putting the link in the chat, so I don't need to. Perfect. Our impact assessment questionnaire is now live. This is really, really important in us demonstrating to funders the value for money and the impact we're able to make in the sector. So we'd really appreciate it if you could take I think it's about 10 minutes to fill it out. It is a bit chunky. It may be something that, you block out a little bit of time to fill out, but we'd be really, really appreciative if you could do that, as this makes a massive difference to us and helps us improve our offering going forward. But yeah, thank you again, Damien, for all the work you put into this and for sharing your experiences. Thank you everyone for coming along. If you've got any questions, please do drop us an email, and we look forward to seeing a flurry of applications. Cheers, everyone.
Thanks all.